The big challenges on any projects like these are the unknowns. You know, we had some basic information on the ship, but we didn't know what we were going to find when we got there, and when we started drilling holes into the wreck. I think everybody was surprised at the amount of oil that we ended up finding down there.
You know, we weren't sure if the sheens were caused by external factors like boaters transiting through the area that may know of this known wreck, you know, located here. But despite the fact, we knew that an action had to be taken.
The objective of this whole thing has never been zero oil. It's been reducing the substantial threat of a large-scale release.
ROVs counting on us to be able to maintain position. We have to stay where we are and move where they need us to be. So, survey is telling them where they need to be. So it's all interaction between survey, ROV, and us here at the rig, the vessel, to make sure the vessel is in the correct position.
Now, on these salvage jobs that have historical significance, to us they're more than just a job and earning a living. We really like to delve into what happened here? How did this get here?
Hopefully people understand the threat that it is, and understand that what we're doing here is a huge help for the environment and a huge help for the public.
Have you seen those bits? You'd be helpful with those in your hand. Yeah, that's Resolve proprietary.
This is the stuff we made for the wreck assessment and kind of oil assessment portion. A couple of years ago, our team in Holland developed these, and so it's a hot tap form of a hot tap system. And basically, what that means is just being able to drill or open up a hole inside of a tank or inside of a pipeline to get oil or get the product out without actually opening it up to the sea.
We're on board motor vessel Shelia. We're on site here approximately 160 feet above Motor Tanker Coimbra. We're removing potential environmental threats in the form of fuel oil, lube oil from Coimbra and storing it on board here on Shelia.
Every single piece of it has to work. The planning that goes into something like this is much more than most people realize.
Mobilize the right team of experts and responders, but then even more so the resources, and you know, the premier salvage companies like Resolve to come out here and work with Borderline Marine Corporation, Chet Morrison Energy, ROVs, and UTEC to all come out here, work together as a team, and declassify the Coimbra as a threat, which is our primary objective out here.
We were supposed to come out, verify how the vessel was sitting, damaged portions, look for any munitions, any human remains, but the main goal was seeing how much oil was left in this, where's the oil located, how many tanks, roughly how much is there, so that they could go back and figure out a budget for removing all of this. What this has turned into is just a roll into the actual oil removal operation. So we've finished the assessment. We started at the bow and just started working aft, drilling holes into each of these tanks. It has actually ended up being a lot more than we thought.
And as far as I'm aware, it's the biggest project that anyone here involved in the Coast Guard has worked on, as far as sheer oil capacity in a single project.
Somebody said like 2,000 to 3,000 was like one of the estimates. We had a board up in the conference room where everybody was taking bets on how much oil was in this thing.
Who won? Was there?
Whoever had the most, I can't remember who it was that had bet the most amount, and that was the closest to what. It was like 450,000 gallons.
Right off the Hamptons' pristine beaches, a deadly menace festers just offshore. In 1942, the SS Coimbra was hunted, attacked, and sunk by a German U-boat's torpedoes.
Hard to imagine, but there's this ship and there's a number of others around the world that were sort of ticking time bombs. We've been oil for a number of years. When the rivets started to let go, I guess we're number one in the world with emergency response right now, with teams all around the world. This particular vessel was an amazing history. The job is, we're looking at the nuts and bolts of it, is removing oil. It got there by being sunk by a German submarine back in January 1942.
One of the perks of the vessel that we hired was that it already had a work-class ROV on board. It had what's called it's a Schilling ROV. It's 150 horsepower, and it was operated by a team of guys from a company called ROVs. And Having the ROV on board is invaluable, because while a diver can only go down for 60 minutes or so, the ROV can stay down forever. So we use the ROV as much as possible to minimize the dive time that we needed the guys on bottom. And that's, one, for efficiency of the operation, two, for safety.
As we're doing in this case, remove the oil from the tanks, working very closely with the contractor to again ensure that's done efficiently and as little impacts to the environment as possible.
And you copy all that? I'm about to make a 93 hit.
Please turn on the TMS.
Roger, TMS.
Don't drop it, man.
That's the tethered management system.
Use your T4 camera here at the top. Grab any piece of rope that you can, so we can use it next time. Let's get that black and white camera on it.
So technically challenging. The engineering, the logistics, because you got to be ready for everything. If something goes wrong offshore, you have to have your toolkit, you have to have it. Our guys, our teams are just phenomenal. It's just incredible what they accomplish, and they're young guys. I'm the oldest guy around.
The less amount of diving that you need to do, the better. And so we use the ROV for a multitude of different tasks during the job. To start with, it was responsible for doing the full video survey of the hull, kind of the as found condition. When we first got out there, the ROV found where the leak was, the active leak on the ship, found that within 15 minutes of being on bottom, we had already identified where the active leak hole. When it came to supporting the actual drilling operation, we used the ROV to clean the areas on the wreck. So instead of a diver having to go down with a brush or with a chisel and scraping away any rust or any marine growth, you could put either a cavitation blaster, which is a little water blaster, a high pressure water blaster, or a Stanley tool with a wire brush on it. You could send the ROV down and it could work ahead of the divers and go and clean, a 3 foot by 3 foot patch on the locations where we wanted to mark or where we wanted to drill into the vessel and take these readings and these assessments.
A lot of thinking into this, coming into it, going from working with my hands and getting into electronics and hydraulics. From a scale point, 1 to 10, I'd say about 8. Coming into actually getting the hands-on, hand-eye coordination figured out, and actually learning the vehicle, how it reacts underwater. Pretty different. A lot different than driving a car.
ROVs counting on us to be able to maintain position. We have to stay where we are and move where they need us to be. Survey is telling them where they need to be. So it's all interaction between survey, ROV, and us here at Red Vessel to make sure the vessel is in the correct position to do the job. And being on DP versus being anchored has a lot of advantages. If ROV needs to move, in this example, on a ship underwater, if it's 300 feet long and they need us to move from the bow to the stern, that's very simple. Being on DP simplifies that. We just make the adjustments on the DP, the vessel moves accordingly, so we can position it anywhere they want.
The Coimbra project started out as an oil assessment. The whole purpose of going out on this job was just to find out where the oil was, if there was oil, how much, where's it located on the ship. It wasn't to do the fuel removal originally. The original scope of work was purely to go and figure out what was in there, take samples of it so we could figure out the type of oil and where it's located on the ship so that we could try to quantify how much oil's in there. That information will go to the Coast Guard, and then ideally they would put together a new budget for either ourselves or another contractor to come out and do the fuel removal. What ended up happening, and we had brought some of the tooling necessary to actually pump the product out, and this was done more as a contingency plan. If there was an uncontrolled release, at least we had the pumping gear on hand that we could hook up to one of the tanks and remove the threat immediately without having more resources needed to respond. So because we had this gear on site and because of the quantity of oil that we found, we said, well, you know what? We're already out here. We already have a lot of this gear with us, and we can store the oil on board of the Shelia Bordelon in her tanks. Let's go ahead and just start removing it. When you run into heavy fuel oil, which is what we found as we started working further aft, and once we got closer to the machinery space, that's where the bunker tanks were located, and that's when we hit this heavy fuel oil. Black, it's thick, it's goopy, and it, especially at the water depth and at the low temperatures at that water, makes it very hard to move through a pump. So the couple of problems that you run into will be, one, you starve the pump. It's sitting there trying to suck more product in, it can't do it, and you end up burning it out. The other problem that you have is on the backside, and that's when the product actually gets into the hose and you start trying to push that product up the hose, up the water column into the ship. And what ends up happening, if you can imagine, you're forcing a lot of product up into the hose. If it can't get out fast enough, then you start building pressure inside of that hose and you risk actually blowing the hose itself, and then you have this uncontrolled release into the water. The final way to do it is to heat the product up itself. And there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. There are a lot of contractors that will use steam, or, and this is the method that we went with, is you have superheated water on the top side, run a hose down to the tank and inject that water into the tank itself.
All right, what are we doing out here? All right, so what's actually going to be happening is that they're sending water into the boiler right there. It's going through the tank to get heated up.
We built basically a closed loop system. So this oil would come out, the bulk oil would go into the ISO tanks. Once we reached more of an oily water mixture, then we ran it to a different skimming systems.
Go down and out over there. The return will come back in through here, on the oil side. Oil and water mix will come in, come up, we'll pour into our oil bucket right here, pump it on down around, and we'll recirculate the water.
So this was a tank that's specially designed for this, that had different baffles in it with different J-tubes, and the oil would go into the first compartment, or the oily water would go into the first compartment, the oil would rise to the surface, flow over into the next tank, and eventually you would have more of a condensed product with the clean water shooting out of the bottom of the tank, going back to the frac tank to be reheated, and then shot back down to the wreck itself.
So it's like a giant circulating system. Well, I got a sample of it you want to see. So this is it, and it's basically surface temperature. It's like molasses. See that? Right, and then when it's, now that you're doing it, it'll come out really, really liquidy. Liquid, just the pore stage. Squeeze. All right. So we have 4 stages right here. Our initial oil is coming in here. Let's see the inlet spout right there. That's the inlet spout. So the water will go through these buckets on the bottom side. That's where the water starts to separate. The main oil will come here, spill over into a bucket that's located on this side. See that? There's the bucket right there. Okay. So once it raises to a level, it'll start to spill over into that bucket. As the water keeps going back, it starts getting clearer and clearer and clearer. So this should be the clearest tank that we should have seen in the water.
So you've got British ships like this one, you've got US ships, and really the early 1940s is when the U-boats were really a scourge all along the US East Coast and took down a lot of these merchant marine vessels.
The Japanese attacked us December 1941, Pearl Harbor. Then the Germans declared war on us because they were buddies with the Japanese. The smoke was still burning, or the fires are still burning in Pearl Harbor as the Germans got submarines, long-range submarines, to start hunting off the United States coast. And the Coimbra was the second vessel sunk in that campaign.
She was carrying 2.5 million gallons of oil, bulk oil, And when she got sunk by that German U-boat, allegedly the citizens on Long Island could see her from ashore burning. And allegedly they could also hear the screams.
No, it was a challenging job, but it was kind of sad. You know, working on a vessels that have sunk or been on fire is one thing, but when you have casualties, people who gave up their lives on a given job, when we go to a shipwreck or a ship in trouble, it puts a little different tone to the whole job, to be honest. But the history of these things is amazing, and I really doing these videos is kind of looking to get the history out there. Our youth in this country, we need to know our history, because it was a lot to get where we're at now.
How many gallons we thinking might be in that notebook? That would just help us evaluate further. It would just be, all right, this is what we may have left. At least it makes
the substantial threat of a large-scale release. 3,000 gallons, even all at once, this far out is not a substantial.
At what point do we reach, I don't know if you want to call it acceptable risk, hey, stop. What point are we at good? Is that 3,000, hearing, as you're saying, that one-time full release going from what it was at the start of this to now 3,000 gallons. And I don't want to go around saying, yeah, was it okay, but is it acceptable? Are we closer to there than we were when we started?
Any other connections we have? So it's true that duct tape fixes everything.
That zip ties in this industry are also known as space rope. Space rope and duct tape hold the world together.
But the hot tapping is what we call drilling into the side of a ship. We're actually drilling through the steel.
It would shoot directly into ISO tanks that were on board the vessel. So where previously we were able to pump all of the liquid into the Bordelon's tanks, for this phase of the operation, the ship could not take this heavy fuel oil because it didn't have heating coils in the vessel itself when it came time to offload. So we had ISO tanks that were separately on board. As those were filled, we would offload those to a supply vessel that would bring them into shore to get offloaded and recycled.
But we know that when we're out here, we have to deliver results because so much is being invested in the response. And you know, I would argue the same for Resolve. So that said, you know, when you're talking about the amount of time to get out here and to see it pay off, I think it starts with Captain Reed making the tough choice to say, hey, we need to take action. And you know, in the federal government, there are a lot of checks and balances, and because we're using federal funds to affect this response, you know, you can anticipate checks and balances, and to patiently go through those checks and balances, and then to coordinate as a team, you know, all these different moving parts takes time. And given the experience that Resolve has in working with the state and local governments across the U.S., so from there, we were able to, get informed about the wreck and then figure out strategically the best way to start assessing her, figuring out, how much environmental threat is on board still after so many years since World War II, where would be the first place to address the primary threats, and then, systematically take down those threats, declassify them, because as a premier agency in the Department of Homeland Security, the Motor Tanker Coimbra was one of the top threats in the District 1 area of responsibility, certainly Sector Long Island Sound area of responsibility.
And they're going to stay in the chamber for how long?
About 2 hours.
2 hours
Yep.
every time?
Yep, so it'll be a 90-minute deco, in water, coming up at different stops for different intervals, and then once they come up, they shoot in. So on the umbilical, because the water's about 42 degrees down there right now, they've got a hot water suit that they wear. And that's the hose that runs down and connects into their little suit. And the suit has hot water lines that run all throughout everything, even into their gloves, and keeps them nice and toasty while they're working. This is all the tool deployment and fuel removal portion. So we send this down, and we'll get all this stuff out in the morning. But the Desme pump is in here, and so that hooks up directly on a flange on the ship, and then we just start sucking. We have a little sight glass right here in the line, so we can see when we're getting water or when we're getting product, and then that's just a little sample port, and it lets us bleed air out of the system. So when we first start up, we'll usually have a little baby pool sitting right here, and we've got a couple of buckets. Bleed out any of the air, and then just kind of see what the product looks like. Runs around, happening from there. So we don't have to open up a whole bunch of tanks, move the hose around and fill them in there. We just put it right into the ship system, and then they open all the valves internally and just move the oil from tank to tank how they want to. So it's worked out. It's been a really clean system.
And what are we at right now? We're dumping.
So right now we came in with 140,000 gallons of lube oil, and we're pumping that off to this facility, Clean Waters, and they're going to handle it.
Now, is this the first time dumping here?
This is the first time dumping in general. So the first 2 weeks was the assessment phase, and that was just going through, drilling holes in the tanks, sampling the product and seeing what we got, and then taking a probe. We've got a 2-meter long probe that goes into the 2-inch hole that we've made, and that tells us roughly how much oil is in the tank.
Yeah, now it's like easy for the divers.
Yeah. So the next phase of that is upsizing to a 3-inch, because you can't really pump very well out of a 2-inch, which we've proven on this job. We went to give it a shot on the first tank, and it was just too thick. It was too hard to get out of that little same process. It's just as you go up in diameter, you need exponentially more torque to actually force that in. And it's a function of how strong the magnets are and how strong your motor is to be able to actually wrench that thing down into the steel.
Kind of makes you pause for a moment and say, hey, I guess after all, it was good that we got here just in time, because better to remove the oil from the tank than having to remove the oil from the Hamptons beach right in the prime of summertime.
Yes, the actions that have been taken have been very careful and methodical inspection of the shipwreck and its character as it lays on the bottom, to identify locations where oil may be contained in the wreck, and to ensure that the actions to penetrate those oil compartments minimize effects to the shipwreck while process of removing the oil.
And so it's really not until there's a problem that people want to focus and pay attention to. It's hard to say, oh, there's a shipwreck on bottom, we think there's oil in it, let's go spend $10 million to check it out. It's hard to get people to buy into that when there's other things that this funding could go towards. And so a lot of times that's what it takes, is for a leak to start, and then having some advocates to, put that funding and make that happen.
At Resolve, we're kind of like the United Nations. Our offices in Florida are in the United States. It's, I'm telling you, that's where our strength comes from, the diversification of our team. It's amazing what it takes to get these projects executed. And the guys put their heart and soul in it. Candidly, is one of the reasons I want to do these videos as well. The guys deserve the recognition.
So you kind of come into it with expectations, and I got to say that the team cohesiveness out here, the positive attitudes, the work being done is pretty special. What's happening? Being away from home is nothing new. Out here, you're a little more isolated. The work hours are about 12-hour shifts for each member, sometimes longer depending on meetings or different operations may be happening. The work hours are long. The connectivity is sometimes less than ideal. So you get used to that again. It's kind of a chance to go back in time and really use that time you're not on the internet or on your phone to interact with the crew members and really build these working relationships.
Morrison Energy, it makes every day out here very pleasurable. But any day away from home is, obviously taxing. And, that's not just for me and the rest of the Coast Guard team here, but, from the mates, from the captain of the Shelia, that's, already on their second deployment here, to also include every person involved with Resolve, from the project manager getting his first time off in 34 days, to take care of things at home, and all the divers, the world-class divers that are on board. And so, to that, I think that motivates me to, give it all my best, to lead the guys, to get, things efficient, so that we can get the job done in a timely manner and, be good stewards of the taxpayer dollar, because at the end of the day, we're doing this, on behalf of the nation, on behalf of the citizens of New York.
Captain Kevin Reed made a great call on when we found oil in significant amount and understood we had the capabilities of recovering. He did a great job by making that call, making that decision.
Excellent that the Coast Guard and the members of that sector were able to spearhead this effort. Obviously, there were members of the community who were very worried about this wreck and the potential for a massive oil spill on the beach. In one, an environmentally sensitive area, and two, just, it's some of the wealthiest pieces of property in the world that are up and down this coastline. And so there were a lot of eyes on this project, a lot of eyes on this wreck for many number of years. And, kudos to the Coast Guard for putting together the funding and putting the initiative, forward to get this project done.
It's not harder, it's more, I guess you get a different sense of fulfillment from it, because you're not just making money off of something, you're actually doing something with water.
I think that played in our favor. I think, having the right people on the team, the right experts.
This has been just an awesome effort. Great, the spirit of collaboration, I think that we've done something great.
So this evolution, the amount of people that are involved and how seamless and flawless it's all coming together, it's amazing. From Resolve to Morrison to the ship's crew, everyone's working amazing together.
Just want to say thank you to all of you guys for every part that you have in making this whole mission work. I'm impressed with everybody's work.
I've been working on it for several years, and it's been a great journey. The crew and everybody that I met is one big team, and I can't thank you all enough. Making our water is much cleaner up here. 500,000 gallons, no longer a threat. Proud and honored to have been part of this team, so thank you.
We learned that there's processes and procedures that we could share within our respective industries that could hopefully inform future responses similar to the Coimbra, that we hope just educates the rest of the salvage industry within the environmental response industry or field within the Coast Guard.
If you're a person of faith, I invite you now to please join me in prayer. Let us pray. To remember, Lord, those 36 souls who were lost that day, and to ask that once again, you bless them in their eternal rest. God, we gather to remember not death, but life. The life that they represented, the lives that they were on their way to save with much needed supplies. And most of all, Lord, now this day, the life that you have kept saved by the work of all the hands on this deck. For those who have been here in days before, those who will now finish up what is done. We thank you for the teeming ocean that will now live and breathe and be vibrant and more safe with the work that is
I think the Coimbra was a great case study for not only the U.S. but also the UK MOD, the Canadian Coast Guard. There's jurisdictions all over the world that have the same problem, have recognized this problem, that there are legacy wrecks from World War II that are filled up with bunkers that have to get dealt with. And it's a matter of funding, and the better that you can do these jobs, the more efficient that you can do these jobs to keep the cost down, makes it more of a reality for these different these different authorities to be able to carry it out. So since the Coimbra, we've done a number of these jobs for both the U.S. Coast Guard and the Canadian Coast Guard, the Munger T. Ball, the Steedike, the General Zelensky, the Thomas Hayward, to name a few.
We're really excited that you guys and girls are enjoying this video. I wasn't sure. After a couple 100,000 views from that last one we did, I guess we've got an audience out there. Again, I want to do this for my guys, you know, for their kids and their grandkids. They should see these too. But a big part too is to get it to the history of our country. You know, it's just you can't fail. You just cannot fail in these jobs. You know. To be honest, the next one we're coming out is the Dolly.